I financially support my husband while he only sleeps and plays video games, but he divorced me because I don't do enough, so I destroyed his life. My ex-husband was a problem. I didn't mind the myriad of health conditions he had, but the fact that he refused to take care of himself was the real issue, especially when his problems caused me to lose the very little sleep I was going to get. I worked for a terrible corporate security firm that doesn't care about its employees. I was the single field supervisor in my region, and on top of my regular 40-hour work week, I was also called on emergency to fill open positions. The money was incredible, but I was miserably exhausted. At the time, my husband worked part-time, received SSI, and spent all his income on himself, video games and fast food, against his doctor's orders, while I paid both of our shares of the bills, car payment, insurance, phones, etc. This went on for about 3 years, progressively worsening as time passed. Despite the money I covered for him, I still managed to bump my credit by paying off my car and saving enough to buy a house. While moving, I was still working 80+ hours and couldn't spare time to help much, but I paid for the moving truck and dinner for anyone willing to help us pack up and move. I asked my then husband to make sure everything was packed. He packed all of his belongings, then the household furniture, ignored whatever didn't fit, was late returning the moving truck, and I had to call about the fee. The result was that most of my stuff, my roommates, and my brother's stuff didn't fit in the moving truck. My brother made trips every day after work to pick up a carload and bring it home. I asked my ex-husband to please do the same, and he agreed. 3 weeks later, I finally got a day off. I worked a 12-hour shift and planned to pack up a few boxes and take them home while I was out. I walked into the house and saw that my ex had done nothing. He said he had been moving our stuff for 3 weeks and hadn't touched anything. I had a meltdown. My legs gave out from shock, and I sobbed on the stairs. My best friend also came in right after me and found me on the stairs. He held me while I cried and assured me he would take a few days off to get everything packed up and moved. He told me to go home and sleep, but I told him I was already here, so I might as well take a few boxes since my worthless husband lied to me about doing so. He helped me pack up some things, and I drove home. I didn't even bother to unload it. I went inside, collapsed on my bed, and cried. Hours and hours later, I finally woke up, a groggy mess, and made my way out to my car to start unloading. Best friend was there unloading his car with a tired smile. He had been going all day, and the sun was setting. Meanwhile, my husband was slacking off in the basement doing who knows what, breaking his promise. We managed to move everything, but I had to extend the lease by 1 week and pay a prorated rental cost due to my husband's neglect. I was quickly racking up anger at him, and finally, when we were moved, I sat him down and told him how angry I was about the lies, his laziness, and what he caused. He started accusing me of all kinds of things in return, like how I wouldn't passionately hug him because of his medical issues. I lost it. I screamed at him that I don't passionately hug anyone. I don't even passionately hug myself because I'm working the equivalent of 2 jobs with overtime to support his lazy butt and pay for his lifestyle because he wastes all of his money on fast food that he shouldn't even be eating and video games, and because he doesn't lift a single finger to do anything around the house like unpacking, cooking, cleaning, nothing to make my life easier. He is actively making my life harder. I'm still cleaning up after him when he leaves dishes everywhere and stains on my carpet. So no, I don't want to passionately hug him if he won't do anything to earn it. He went radio silent on me for 2 weeks. It got progressively worse. He wouldn't text me or speak to me, wouldn't answer my calls, and, eventually wouldn't even look at me. Meanwhile, he's still living off my money. So, finally, one day, I messaged him to ask why he was treating me this way, and he ignored me. I asked several other questions, but nothing. Finally, I told him that if he hated me so much, he should just divorce me. He tells me the next day he wants a divorce. I ask him why. You're not going to believe his answer. You don't do enough for me. Oh boy, did he mess up. This ding-dong is the most obtuse, smooth-brained, intellectually deficient, situationally unaware, half-witted, opossum-brained clod, to say that. I unleashed it. I told him that I do everything for him. I pay for everything so he can live a relaxing life. I give him a roof over his head, food in his belly, and money in his bank account, and taking days off specifically to spend time with him, that I was doing absolutely everything for him, and this is the repayment I get. I got extremely quiet and bucked into his chest, pointing my finger at his face, and told him that since he wanted the divorce, he had to file, and if he even suggested forcing me to sell the house that I paid for, I would destroy him. I would hire an expensive lawyer, push him into the longest court battle of his life, and take him for every single penny he would ever earn for the rest of his life, along with court costs. Then I kicked him out. He moved out. He told me he was moving in with his family a few cities over and asked me to file. I filed in my county because it was closest. He raged at me when he found out. He wanted me to file online and pay an extra $270 out of my pocket, since he expected me to pay for the entire thing, and I told him no. A few days later, I got a strange text that didn't sound like him. I argued with him. Then a confession was made. It was his girlfriend. He had lied to me again and moved to New York from Georgia. She went psycho on me and screamed at me via text about how abusive I was. Long story short, we argued, and I told her I wouldn't be speaking to her again. I am filing in my county because I already started the process, and I'm not changing my mind because he lied. I might have been willing to file online if he hadn't lied, but I'm not now. Months go by, and finally, the date comes. She drove him to Georgia, and they were 15 minutes late. I knew this because I was 15 minutes early, and the clerk asked if I could contact him, so I went outside. I saw her roll up. I told him she was not allowed inside due to restrictions, but honestly, I wouldn't have let her inside because I hate her. He nodded, and up we went. We spoke to the clerk and started our paperwork. I have some legal knowledge, so I knew which questions to ask. I know how lazy this brat of a human is. He hates doing anything he doesn't have to do, so I reminded him before the clerk that he still had property at my home, and I wanted it out of my house. The clerk told him that anything he left on my property after a certain date would legally belong to me, and there would be no way of getting it back without my express consent. He asked if he could work something out with me, and I told him no, you'll have to adhere to these legal guidelines, and anything left afterward will be forfeited. Now, while we were together, his blessed mother passed. I loved that woman. She was a saint, and I wanted something of hers to remember her. He had inherited her dining rug. While not monetarily worth much, it is still a lovely black and red antique, and I knew he couldn't afford to ship it, nor could he afford to rent a moving truck, nor could he fit it in his girlfriend's tiny crap car. So, while he was crying and loading up his mother's belongings, all of which he had left behind when he left initially, I told him I was keeping the rug. I said this flatly and without feeling. He tried to argue, so I pointed out the obvious, and he conceded. He knew I was right. Update: I married my best friend, and we've been together for nearly 4 blissful years. On our 5th anniversary, he agreed to a ceremony since we were married in a simple ceremony with only 2 witnesses. For more petty revenge, I still have my ex's childhood art binder, which he cherishes, and I will continue to hold it until he pays me back the $400 he owes me for the brand new tires I put on his car, a mere few weeks before he decided he wanted the divorce. It's been over 4 years, man, I'm never giving it back at this rate, and I do send him annual reminders.